Have you ever, in the quiet of the night like this, truly wondered who your neighbor is? Is it the person who lives next door? The colleague you see every day? Or perhaps those who share your same beliefs? Tonight, let your mind rest. Let go of the burdens of the day and travel back in time with me to a sun-beaten, winding road that connected Jerusalem and Jericho. It was on a road just like this that Jesus told a story not just to answer a question, but to open a new horizon of compassion, a story with the power to soothe the most weariest of souls. Our story begins not with a miracle, but with a question, a sharp question, from a wise man, an expert in Jewish law. He stood up amidst the crowd listening to Jesus and asked, not to learn, but to test him, "Teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life?" Jesus, with his gentle gaze, didn't give a direct answer. He asked in return, "What is written in the law? How do you read it?" The scholar, proud of his knowledge, answered perfectly, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself." "You have answered correctly," Jesus replied. "Do this, and you will live." But the scholar, wanting to justify himself, to prove his own righteousness, asked one more question, the very question that sparked this timeless tale. "But who is my neighbor?" Jesus paused. He didn't offer a dry definition. Instead, he began to tell a story. He spoke of a man. We don't know his name. We only know he was a traveler, setting out on a journey, a perilous 17-mile trek, descending from the holy city of Jerusalem down to the ancient city of Jericho. It was an infamous road, the way of blood, they called it. It snaked through desolate, rocky canyons, a perfect hiding place for robbers preying on lonely travelers. But our traveler, perhaps for business, perhaps in a hurry, decided to go alone. He didn't know that a cruel fate was waiting for him just around the bend. And then the unthinkable happened. They emerged from the shadows of the great rocks. Robbers, swift and silent, they surrounded him, stripping him of his money, his dignity, and even the clothes on his back. He may have tried to fight back, but one man is no match for a gang of thieves. They beat him mercilessly, leaving him half dead, lying in the dust under the harsh Judean sun. He lay there, his breath shallow, blood and dust mingled on his skin. The world around him faded into a blur of pain. He was alone, dying on the soil of his own homeland. A short while later, a figure appeared in the distance. A flitter of hope ignited in the man's fading vision. It was a priest, a man who served in the holy temple in Jerusalem, a man whose life was dedicated to God, to teaching mercy and holiness. Surely he would help. The priest drew near. He saw the man lying there, naked and bloodied. He hesitated for a moment. Perhaps he thought, if I touch this man, I will become ritually unclean. I won't be able to perform my duties in the temple. Perhaps he was afraid. The robbers might be still near. If I stop, I could be their next victim. And so the priest, the symbol of holiness, made his choice. He crossed to the other side of the road and walked on, perhaps a little faster, as if to erase the troubling image from his mind. The first hope was extinguished. The pain of indifference was sharper than any physical wound. Not long after, another figure appeared. This time it was a Levite, also a man of the temple, an assistant to the priests, a man well versed in the law. He too was a fellow countryman, a neighbor in the most literal sense. The Levite also came near. He also saw the dying man. He too paused, his eyes assessing the situation. Fear and calculation likely crossed his mind. And then, just like the priest before him, the Levite also chose to cross to the other side of the road and continue his journey, leaving his brother to his fate. The second hope was gone. Now only despair remained. The sky seemed to press down on him. The man's breathing grew fainter. He was sure he would die there, alone and forgotten.
But then a third traveler came down the road. This man was not a priest. He was not a Levite. He was a Samaritan. In those days, Jews and Samaritans were enemies. They despised each other. They were separated by centuries of religious and political hatred. To the Jewish man lying on the ground, this Samaritan was the ultimate outsider, a person he would never willingly speak to. The Samaritan was on his own journey, likely with his own business to attend to. But when he saw the body on the side of the road, he did not cross over. He stopped. He got off his donkey, and he walked towards the man. And when he saw the tragic sight, the scriptures tell us something beautiful. He took pity on him. Or more deeply, his heart was moved with compassion. It wasn't a feeling of superiority. It was a deep, gut-level empathy. In that moment, he didn't see a Jew. He saw a human being in agony, a life that needed saving. All the prejudice, all the hatred between their peoples simply dissolved. He knelt beside the injured man. He opened his own travel bag. He took out oil and wine, the best portable medicines a traveler had. The wine to disinfect the wounds, the oil to soothe the pain. He gently, carefully cleaned the man's injuries and then bandaged them with clean strips of cloth. Every action was filled with tenderness. He was not in a rush. He worked as if he were caring for his own brother. After giving first aid, the Samaritan did not leave. He knew that if the man was left here, he would not survive the night. With great effort, he lifted the man and placed him on his own donkey, his only means of transport. And then he began to walk, holding the injured man steady so he wouldn't fall. And so they went, a Samaritan and a Jew, two enemies, now bound together by an act of kindness. The road was still the way of blood, but for this moment, it had become a path of humanity.
They traveled until they reached a roadside inn. The Samaritan helped the man inside and settled him into a bed. But his work was still not done. He stayed with him through the night, watching over him. The next morning, when the man was stable and the Samaritan had to continue his journey, he went to the innkeeper. He took out 2 silver coins, a significant sum, equal to 2 full days' wages. He gave them to the innkeeper and said, "Look after him, and when I return, I will reimburse you for any extra expense you may have." His compassion was not a fleeting moment. It was a commitment. He ensured the stranger would be cared for until he was fully healed. He gave this gift without asking for thanks, without any expectation of repayment. He did all this for someone who on any other day would have considered him an enemy.
After telling the story, Jesus turned back to the expert in the law, and he asked, "Which of these three do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of robbers?" The scholar, perhaps humbled, could not bring himself to say the word Samaritan. He simply answered, "The one who had mercy on him." And Jesus said to him and to all of us across the centuries, "Go and do likewise." The story tonight doesn't ask us, "Who is my neighbor?" It asks a much deeper question. To whom can I be a neighbor? True compassion knows no borders. It is not confined by nationality, religion, or prejudice. It is simply seeing a human being in need and opening your heart. And now, as you prepare to fall asleep, let this story of the Good Samaritan rest in your mind. Think of that unconditional kindness, that care without calculation. Let the image of the traveler stopping on the road, kneeling to bandage the wounds of a stranger, let it soothe away the weariness within you. May the peace of true compassion guide you into a deep and restful sleep. Good night.